Hi, welcome to our third video in Medford Family Network's special series, Pandemic Parenting, the Doctor is In. Our topic today is getting to calm, part of helping children with intense feelings during the pandemic. I'm Debbie Weinstock-Savoy, a licensed psychologist and parent of three, with over 30 years of experience consulting with parents and teachers about the challenges and joys of taking care of young children. Raising children is a gigantic job, even under the best of circumstances. Now we are living through extraordinary times, and what was already hard may be even harder. In response, Medford Family Network is finding new ways to connect with and support families. And parents have been contacting us with many concerns, including this question: how can I help my young child with all the extra intense feelings that they're having right now? In our first two videos, we talked about many of the important things children need to learn about emotions and how we help them learn to recognize their feelings and put those feelings into words. Today, we'll focus on how we can help children learn what makes them feel better when they're in distress, how to calm themselves down. But before we can look at how to help our children calm down, let's think about what helps us calm down. Because we can't help our child calm down when we're angry or upset ourselves. It's like that safety video that you see at the beginning of an airplane ride. Remember airplane rides? I think they'll happen again. If there's a loss of cabin pressure, an oxygen mask will drop down in front of you. Always adjust your own oxygen mask before you help the person sitting next to you. When we're yelling or hyperventilating, that's not the time that we can help our child calm down by teaching them deep breathing techniques. So let's start out by asking yourself, what are some of the ways that you help yourself calm down when you're angry or upset or overwhelmed with your child? Start making a list. Get your phone out, get a piece of paper. Different things work for different people, so you're trying to identify what works for you. And I have a little list that I made. We'll go over some of these. Maybe some of these will be helpful for you. Sometimes we need to take a break. We need a time out from the action. We need to be able to get away, either physically to leave the room or mentally in our heads. Sometimes using our senses is helpful. And that might be a sense of smell, aromatherapy. It might be listening to something, sound, music. Listening to music can be helpful for many people. It may be texture, holding something that feels good to us. And that works for our children as well, of course. And then there's always water. Water is soothing in many of its forms for many of us, and that might be taking a shower, it might be soaking in a bathtub, it might be splashing around in a puddle or a dishpan for a child. What are some other ways we might help ourselves calm down? Just getting out into nature, getting outside. It's a different kind of stimulation, and it can be calming. What else? Reaching out to someone else, talking to another person, maybe because you're letting off steam, venting, or maybe because you're asking for help or just to have the connection. And with that in mind, something else that can be calming is getting a hug, physical contact with somebody we care about, or stroking a pet. Lots of good research that stroking our pet is something that's calming for many people. We might need to move. We might need to get up and move around. We might need to dance. We might need to get some exercise. We might need to go for a run. We might need to play basketball. Moving is another thing we might use to calm down. One of our classic calming techniques is deep breathing. And it has to be deep breathing. Breathing really fast doesn't work. Slow and from low in the abdomen, diaphragmatic breathing. And that's well demonstrated to change our body's physiology in ways that also changes our mood. Another thing that can be calming is humor. Laughing. Laughing changes our physiology similar to the way deep breathing does. It has all kinds of good benefits. And when we use humor, we can also often get a sense of perspective from the situation. Some of us need to make art, not just listen to music, but make our own music or make our own art. It doesn't have to be beautiful art to anybody else, but it has to be making something creative. What are some of the other approaches? Meditation and mindfulness. And right now, there are so many meditation and mindfulness apps that you can find on your phone, and many of them are free. Very handy. A change of situation, a change of scenery, a change of activity, distraction, whatever it might be, just getting out, doing something different, doing something else. This is very helpful with children as well as with adults. And all right, maybe we're not going to just jump into our car and go for a ride to the mountains, but maybe we can jump in our car and drive around the neighborhood. And that could feel good too. I have included mood-altering substances. I want to make it clear this is chocolate, but you can pick your own mood-altering substance there. This is a technique that adults often use. It may or may not be a technique that you want to be available to your child. Maybe a little chocolate, but maybe not some of the other things that grown-ups use. And finally, one of our calming techniques is calming words that we say to ourselves that we can repeat out loud or in our heads. This too shall pass. And sometimes it's helpful to actually write those calming words, that mantra, in big letters somewhere and stick it up where you're going to see it routinely. She's not trying to drive me crazy. She's only a baby. When you have figured out some of the things that are helpful for you to calm down, you can make your own version of a calming chart. And having something like this up on the wall is a great jumping off place for reminding us when we're feeling angry, upset, frustrated, overwhelmed, exhausted with our children. Now, as you create your list, you've probably already noticed some of the activities that you've used in the past to calm down are not available right now in the midst of a world pandemic. Or they may not be available to us in the same form. This is a huge issue, and it's contributing to everybody's current stress level. For example, if you're a single parent, it's always been a challenge to get any time to yourself, to get a break. And in the past, you might have relied on swapping babysitting with a friend sometimes to get a bit of time for yourself. Right now, that might not be an option. The question to ask yourself is, what else could still work for me? It's especially important to pay attention to what you can still do on your list that helps you to feel calmer. Maybe there's something you used to do that you can try in a slightly different form, that you can tweak a little bit to accommodate our change in situation. And maybe there's something entirely new that you could try. All right, now that you've reminded yourself of some of the things that help you to calm down when you're upset, let's think about what helps our child to calm down. Well, actually, many of the things on that same list work for children as well. They just might take slightly different forms. We would start, though, with our child, at least our child who is older than a baby or a toddler, by talking about the experience of calm. What does it feel like to feel calm in your body and in your mind and in your heart? And ask your child to think with you about what helps them to feel calm. One of the images that sometimes people use to help children with this idea is to take a snow globe and shake it up and talk about the idea that when we're in stress, everything is whirling around. When we're upset, when we're angry, everything is whirling around inside of us. And calming is when all of it starts to settle down. Everything starts to settle and we feel more peaceful. Remember the emotion chart that we talked about in our previous video about helping children learn to recognize and name emotions? A chart like that up on the wall for calming activities can be really helpful, and it's something you can customize to include each member of your family. You can do it the way I did by finding images on the internet. You can have your child help you draw images to go along with each activity. And one of my favorite ways to do this is to use photographs of your child engaging in each of the calming activities. This is going to take a little bit of staging. You're going to have to set up some posing. They'll probably get a kick out of this. Sure, I'll splash in water so you can take my picture for this. And then you use those pictures for the images on the chart. They're taking a deep breath. They're playing basketball. They're splashing in the bathtub. One of the other advantages of creating a customized version of a chart like this is that it highlights the idea that different approaches work for different people. For example, if you have more than one child, you've already noticed that the things that calm one child might be different for the other child. One of the very big differences might be, does my child need time alone, quiet time by themselves to calm down? Or can they only calm down when they're connected and interacting with an adult? I saw this in my own family as my children grew up. I had children who needed to connect with me, to interact with me to calm down. And I had children that needed time by themselves, quiet time alone, before they could connect with me in a helpful way. Like everything else that children learn to do, this is going to take a lot of practice. So let's think about how we practice some of these things. We can only teach calming techniques when we're calm and our children are calm. What about deep breathing, for example? What are some of the ways to teach that? Well, if you Google teaching your child deep breathing, you'll find many suggestions. One, for example, has to do with imagining that you're smelling a flower when you're breathing in, and that you're blowing out birthday candles when you're breathing out. Breathing in, smell the flower, breathing out, blow out the candle. There are many yoga techniques, ideas about lion breath. One of the techniques I've seen that I like with very young children is to have them lay down on the ground on their backs, take a stuffed animal, little one, lay it over their belly button, and have them practice slow, deep breathing that makes their belly go up and down very gently, because they're rocking their stuffed animal to sleep. So we have to teach calming techniques when everybody's calm. They're also most effective if we use them before our child is blowing up. You cannot reason with a sobbing child or someone in the middle of a tantrum any more than you can reason with a thunderstorm or an erupting volcano. When our children are at their most upset, they are out of control, and the best we can do is to keep them safe and wait it out. Calming techniques are also helpful after a big upset as a way to help children recover, to put themselves back together. So if calming techniques are most effective if we catch the mood early, how do we do that? It's important to learn your child's early warning signs that they're getting upset. What are your child's early warning signs? You might hear changes in tone of voice, so you might hear more whining or more irritable sounding. You might see changes in their body posture. You might see changes in their behavior. And when you notice these early warning signs, you can start by describing what you see without judgment or without trying to fix the problem, and giving them a name for their feeling. Some people call this parenting technique sportscasting. You're simply describing the play-by-play. Oh, it looks like you're starting to feel frustrated with that puzzle piece. Sometimes it's hard to find the right piece, isn't it? That can be frustrating. Sometimes you'll find you don't have to do anything else besides naming that feeling. When we're struggling, it can make us feel better to have someone else put those feelings into words. It can help us get a handle on experience that might be confusing, and it also communicates a sense of empathy. We feel like someone else understands and cares about us, and we don't feel as alone or overwhelmed. This is just as true for children as it is for adults. Once you've helped to identify the feeling, you can ask your child, what could make you feel better right now? And then you can point to the chart of family calming activities and help your child make a choice. Another way to do this same concept is to find a little box, something your child can decorate. And this now becomes their special treasure box. And inside the box, you put things that are either soothing themselves or that remind children of things that help them to calm down. So it could be pieces of paper, little slips of paper with the picture and the word of the soothing activity, play in water, ask for a hug. Or it could be something that's soothing all by itself, a smooth stone that feels good to touch, a small stuffed animal to hug or squeeze, something that smells good, that has a scent attached to it. And then when your child, again, is starting to get upset or recovering from being upset, you can get their treasure box or suggest they get their treasure box and look through it and pick something that they think will help them feel better in the moment. All of this is going to take a lot of practice. We're all still practicing learning to calm down when we're upset. But we hope that some of these ideas are helpful for you and your child in getting to calm. For links to other resources, please go to the Medford Family Network Facebook page. That's where you'll also find our calendar of activities and the contact information for the program's director, Marie Cassidy. Please let us know if you have any questions or concerns, or if you'd like to learn more about services for families with young children in the Medford, Massachusetts area. And don't forget to follow us right here on Medford Family Network's YouTube channel, along with our wonderful playgroup leaders, Miss Andrea, Miss Cindy, and Bernadette. Miss Bernadette, they are all looking forward to seeing your children again as soon as possible. We are all riding this corona coaster together. And with each other's help, we will get through these wild and crazy times. Meanwhile, remember that Medford Family Network is still here for you as a friend to know and a place to grow. Take care of yourselves and your families.